The grand chamber of the Galactic Council was silent, a heavy and cold silence that felt like ice spreading across every corner of the room. More than 500 alien delegates sat inside the massive hall, each representing a different world or empire. All eyes were fixed on one group, the humans. Humanity stood near the center table, their faces calm, their posture straight, but their silence felt louder than any war cry. For weeks, the Council had forced them into endless peace meetings, long speeches, and complicated agreements. The Council believed humanity was weak because Earth was new to the galactic stage. They thought humans were desperate, small, and easy to control, but they were wrong, deeply wrong, and today, they were about to realize it. Commander Eric Vaughn stood at the front of the human delegation. His dark uniform reflected the glowing lights from the giant holographic ceiling. Behind him stood diplomats, soldiers, and officers. Every one of them carried the same cold expression. They were tired of the Council's games, tired of the insults, tired of the threats hidden behind peace. The Supreme Speaker of the Council, a tall creature with silver skin and 6 eyes, leaned forward. "Humans," it said, its voice echoing across the hall, "you must agree to the new restrictions on your fleets. Your warships are too advanced and too unpredictable. We cannot allow such dangerous power to be free." A faint murmur spread across the alien seats. Some nodded, others hissed in agreement. Many had feared humanity's rapid rise in technology. Their ships were fast, their weapons terrifying, and their strategies impossible to predict. But Eric simply stared at the speaker. His eyes were sharp, calm, and filled with something many aliens had never seen in humans before: dangerous confidence. "We came here for peace," Eric said slowly, his voice echoing with a steady power, "not to surrender our future." The Council speaker hissed, "Then you leave us no choice: sign the treaty, or face consequences." A wave of whispers broke out. Some aliens smirked, believing humanity would break. Others watched with concern, sensing something different today, something heavy, something about to explode. Eric did not blink, he did not lower his head, he did not show fear. Instead, he reached down, picked up the treaty tablet from the table, looked at it for 3 seconds, and then gently placed it back down. "We will not sign," he said, calm like a still ocean before a storm. The Council chamber froze. No one moved, no one breathed. The silence was painful, almost unreal. The speaker slammed its hand against the podium. "You dare defy the Galactic Council," it roared, "you dare challenge us." Eric took one slow step back. He lifted his hand, signaling all humans behind him, and then, without raising his voice, he said the words that would change galactic history. "Humans," he said, "we are leaving." And with that, humanity walked out of the peace talks. They did not rush, they did not shout, they did not argue, they simply turned around and walked away with the calm confidence of a species that feared nothing. The sound of their footsteps echoed across the hall like thunder in a quiet valley. The aliens watched in shock. Some stared with wide eyes, others whispered in confusion, a few even trembled, because deep inside their hearts, they knew something terrible had just happened, something that could not be undone. The Council speaker froze, its 6 eyes shaking in disbelief. "Stop them," it ordered its guards, but the guards did not move, because even they felt the pressure in the air, an invisible force that made their skin crawl. As the humans reached the massive exit doors, Eric turned his head slightly and spoke without anger, without fear, without hesitation. "You pushed us too far," he said, "you made a mistake today." Then he walked through the doors, and the human delegation disappeared from the council hall. The moment they were gone, every alien in the chamber felt something heavy sink inside their chest, a cold fear, a silent warning, a truth too clear to ignore. One of the elder council members whispered, "We should not have angered them." Another said softly, "They were peaceful, until we forced them into a corner." The speaker trembled, its voice breaking for the first time, What have we done?" Because for the first time in galactic history, the council realized the deadly mistake they had just made. Humanity had walked away, not defeated, not scared, but with silent fury. And everyone knew what a furious humanity could do. The galaxy would soon learn the price of pushing humans too far, and that price would echo across every star, every system, and every world. The walkout was over, but the real story was just beginning. The moment the humans left the council chamber, a wave of confusion rolled through the galaxy like a silent storm. News spread faster than light across every communication channel, across every outpost, across every empire. The phrase, "humanity walked out," became the most repeated message in all star systems. In the central broadcast halls of dozens of worlds, alien news anchors tried to explain what had happened, but their voices shook. Some called it a political crisis, some called it a misunderstanding, but most called it what it truly was, a disaster waiting to explode. Inside the council tower, the speaker and the elder members gathered in a private room. The massive crystal windows showed the endless stars beyond, but none of them could appreciate the beauty. Their voices were filled with panic. "We gave them an ultimatum," one elder hissed, "and they refused." "They did more than refuse," another whispered, "they left with confidence. That is far worse." The council speaker stared at the glowing map of known space. Human territory was not the largest, not the richest, but it had grown faster than any species ever before. Their technology was unpredictable, their thinking was strange, and their willpower was unmatched. "They are a young race," the speaker muttered, "but they do not fear anyone." Outside the council building, thousands of aliens gathered in crowds. Their voices filled the air with fear and confusion. Some blamed humans for being reckless, others blamed the council for pushing too hard, a few simply shouted that war was coming. And far away, on the blue world of Earth, a different atmosphere filled the air. While the council panicked, humanity prepared. Inside the United Earth Command Center, deep underground, Commander Eric Vaughn entered a large war room. The room was filled with holographic displays, glowing maps, and dozens of officers waiting for orders. Eric's face was calm, but the fire in his eyes was stronger than ever. "The council pushed us," Eric said. "They tried to cage us, they tried to control us." General Mara Hale stepped forward, a tall woman with sharp eyes and a steady voice. "And now they fear us," she said. "I saw it in their eyes when we walked out." Eric nodded. "Good," he said, "fear will make them think twice." A younger officer raised his hand. "Sir, reports are coming in from outer colonies. There is unrest in alien sectors. Some worlds believe we are preparing for war." Eric looked at the officer and replied quietly, "We are preparing for survival." He turned to the holographic map of Earth's fleets. Dozens of battle groups were stationed across human space, sleek warships that carried names like Vanguard, Nightfall, Horizon, and Nova Lance. These ships were not just metal machines, they were symbols of human resilience, human creativity, and human strength. Eric touched the screen, and the fleets began to move in the hologram. "Activate defensive positions across all borders," he ordered, "and send silent recall signals to deep space fleets." General Hale looked at him. "Do you believe the council will attack?" Eric paused. "Not yet," he said, "but their fear will push them to make bad choices." While Earth prepared, something unexpected was happening across alien space. Smaller species, once ignored by the great empires, watched humanity with new eyes. Some felt hope, some felt admiration, some even felt respect. A small reptilian ambassador whispered to his aides, "Humans do not bow to power, they do not fear threats." Another species, long oppressed by the council, transmitted a message across hidden channels: "If war comes, humanity might be the only force brave enough to stand against tyranny." The galaxy was changing, and everyone felt it. Meanwhile, back in the council tower, panic grew with every passing hour. The speaker slammed a fist on the table. "We must bring them back to negotiations," it shouted, "before this becomes uncontrollable." But Elder Terran, one of the oldest members, shook her head slowly. "They will not return to the table," she said. "We insulted their honor, we threatened their freedom. Humans do not forgive such things easily." The speaker growled, "Then what do you suggest?" Elder Terran looked at the hologram of Earth, glowing bright blue among the stars. "We must understand them," she whispered, "or we will face a storm we cannot survive." But it was already too late. The storm had begun. Inside a shadowy corner of alien space, a secret group of warlords planned a dangerous move. They watched the news of humanity's walkout with greedy eyes. "This is our chance," one warlord hissed. "The council is confused, humans are isolated." Another smiled with sharp teeth. "If we strike quickly, we can break them before they gather their strength." They did not know that humanity was already aware, already watching, already preparing. And deep in the darkness of space, far from any star or system, a massive human battle group drifted silently. Its commander looked at the recall signal with cold determination. "Earth needs us," he whispered, "and we will answer." The galaxy trembled. The walkout had shaken the council, but the aftershock was spreading into every star system. Humanity had not declared war, humanity had not fired a single weapon, Earth had only walked away. But sometimes, a walkout is louder than any battle cry. And the galaxy was about to learn why. Far beyond the borders of council space, in a dark region known as the Silent Rift, a different kind of power watched the chaos with hungry eyes. These were not diplomats, not peaceful species, not frightened politicians. They were warlords, raiders, conquerors, and criminals who had survived by staying hidden and silent. They lived in the shadows of old stars, using ancient technology and stolen ships. While the council argued and humanity prepared, these hidden enemies awakened. Inside a massive asteroid hollowed into a fortress, the warlord Kravik stood before a crowd of his commanders. His armor was made of battle scars and scrap metal, his eyes burned with ambition and cruelty. "The council is weak," Kravik growled, "humanity is alone." His commanders leaned forward, their faces lit by red holographic maps. "This is our moment," Kravik continued, "the council fears humanity, humanity mistrusts the council, the galaxy is breaking apart." A tall, insect-like commander clicked its mandibles. "And what do we gain from attacking humans?" it asked. "They are strong." Kravik laughed, a deep and cruel sound. "Strength means nothing when caught off guard," he said. "Look at their fleets, spread across thousands of systems. Look at their borders, full of colonies but lightly defended." He pointed at a glowing blue dot on the hologram, the human colony world of Arden 4. "We attack here first," Kravik said, "a clean strike, fast and silent." Another commander hissed, "If we hit them, the council might interfere." Kravik shook his head. "The council is busy panicking," he said. "They will not act until it is too late." The warlords roared in agreement, but they did not know one thing, something the galaxy always forgot: humans were never blind, never deaf, never unprepared. Across the rift, a small stealth drone drifted silently, its dark surface absorbing every trace of light. It had been watching the warlords for months, transmitting silent signals back to Earth. Humans had been studying the Silent Rift long before the Council pushed them too far. In the United Earth Command Center, an intelligence officer rushed toward Eric Vaughn. "Sir," she said, her voice tense, "the warlords in the Silent Rift are gathering their fleets. They plan to strike one of our colonies." Eric's jaw tightened. "Which colony?" he asked. "Arden 4, she replied. "They are ready to attack within days." General Mara Hale stepped forward. "Kravik's group," she said, "we knew they would move eventually." Eric looked at the hologram of the galaxy. "The Council thinks we are the threat," he said, "but they do not see the real danger." He turned to the officer. "Send a warning to Arden 4, he said. "Tell them evacuation protocols must begin immediately." "Should we request help from the Council?" the officer asked quietly. Eric shook his head. "No," he said, "they will only delay us with politics." While humans moved with speed and precision, the Council remained frozen in fear. They held emergency meetings, wrote endless reports, and argued about rules, but they did not act. They were afraid of humans and too distracted to see the shadow approaching. On Arden 4, a peaceful colony world with forests, oceans, and shining cities, alarms suddenly echoed through the air. Families rushed out of homes, soldiers activated defense grids, and ships lifted from landing pads. Colonel Raina Das, leader of the Arden 4 Defense Force, stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Her soldiers formed lines below her, waiting for orders. "Colony security to full alert," she commanded. "Activate planetary shield generators and escort civilian ships." A young officer ran up to her. "Ma'am," he said, "is this because of the Council?" Raina shook her head. "No," she said, "this danger does not wear Council colors." She pointed at the sky where dark shapes were gathering across the atmosphere, shadows of something coming, something fast, something brutal. Meanwhile, deep in space, Kravik's fleet moved like a swarm of blades through the darkness. Dozens of jagged warships, each armed with stolen weapons and deadly engines, their engines flickered like hungry flames. Kravik stood on the bridge of his flagship, smiling. "The humans will scream," he muttered, "the council will hesitate, this galaxy will bow to us." But his smile vanished when one of his officers shouted, "Warlord, sensors detect 2 unknown signatures approaching fast." Kravik turned sharply. "Show me," he ordered. The hologram lit up, revealing 2 massive shapes cutting through the void like ghosts, nearly invisible, silent, and deadly. They were human ships, but unlike any standard fleet, these were Raven-class stealth cruisers, humanity's most secret weapons. Kravik stared in disbelief. "How did they know?" he hissed. On board the lead cruiser, Captain Elias Ward stood with his hands behind his back, calm and steady. "We intercepted their plans months ago," Ward said to his crew. "Earth knew this moment was coming." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target their flagship engines," he ordered. "Disable, do not destroy." The weapons officer nodded. "Aye, Captain." Energy built inside the human cruiser, silent and invisible, and then a flash of blue light cut across the darkness like a blade. Kravik's flagship shook violently, alarms screeching, sparks flying. "What was that?" Kravik roared. His officer shouted, "Human weapons, sir, they hit us without revealing their position." Kravik's eyes widened with fear for the first time. Humanity had not gone silent, humanity had not gone weak, humanity had simply been waiting, watching, preparing. And now, the hidden enemy's awakening was met with something stronger. Human fury. Space trembled as the first human strike hit Kravik's flagship. The warlord staggered as sparks burst from the ceiling, smoke curling into the air like wounded shadows. His crew rushed to their stations, panic spreading across the bridge. "Find them," Kravik roared, "find the human ships now." But they could not. The Raven-class cruisers drifted through the dark like whispers, their hulls absorbed radiation and scattered sensor waves, making them nearly invisible. They were silent hunters, created for moments exactly like this. On the bridge of the lead Raven, Captain Elias Ward remained calm. His crew worked with precise and controlled movements, their eyes focused, their breathing steady. "Enemy flagship engines disabled," the weapons officer said. "They cannot jump to hyperspace." Ward nodded slowly. "Good, we will not let them escape." He leaned forward slightly, eyes on the floating holographic battlefield. "Prepare the next strike." Meanwhile, Colonel Reyna Dawson Arden watched the skies flash with distant lights. The evacuation was almost complete. Families boarded shuttles, soldiers escorted children, and hundreds of ships lifted toward the upper atmosphere. Reyna tapped her comm device. "Commander Ward, this is Colonel Reyna from Arden for defense," she said. "What is your status?" Ward's voice came through, calm but firm. "We have intercepted the enemy, Colonel," he replied. "Your colony is not alone." Reyna exhaled slowly, relief mixing with worry. "Do we have enough firepower to stop them?" she asked. Ward glanced at the glowing battlefield. "We do not need to destroy their whole fleet," he answered. "We only need to break their spine." Back in the silent rift, panic grew inside Kravik's armada. The humans were not attacking randomly, they were cutting the enemy fleet piece by piece, focusing on engines, communication arrays, and power cores. "They are disabling us," one officer cried, "not killing us." Kravik slammed his fist onto the console. "Why?" he snarled, "why would they not destroy us?" An older commander hissed, "Because they want you alive," he said, "alive and afraid." Kravik's face twisted with hatred and fear. Humans were not acting like prey, they were acting like predators, powerful and deliberate. At that moment, another blue flash hit the side of his flagship. The ship spun slightly, metal groaning under the force. On the Raven cruiser, the weapons officer looked at Ward. "Next target locked." Ward spoke softly but firmly, "Fire." Another silent strike tore through the darkness and crippled a warlord destroyer. The ship drifted helplessly, lights flickering out. Meanwhile, on Arden 4, Reyna watched defense drones rise into the sky, forming protective lines as evacuation ships left the atmosphere. Her officers reported updates every second. All civilians from the West District evacuated. Shield generators at 90%. Colony perimeter secured. Reyna looked toward the sky where distant blue flashes lit the darkness. Hold the shields, she said, no matter what. As human stealth cruisers moved through the enemy armada like specters, other human ships arrived, battle escorts, rapid response frigates, and long-range artillery carriers. They formed a small but powerful formation behind the Ravens. Captain Ward finally gave the command, Fleet, Formation Delta. The ships shifted with precise movements, ready to strike together. In the shadows, Kravik stared at the massive hologram of human ships forming near Arden 4. They brought a fleet, he whispered, disbelief cracking his voice. How did they gather so many ships so fast? The insect commander shouted, Warlord, their frigates are charging weapons. Ward's voice echoed over encrypted comm channels to every human ship. This is United Earth Navy, he said, Arden 4 is under our protection. His tone sharpened, and no enemy leaves this battlefield untouched. Kravik screamed, fire everything. His entire fleet unleashed a storm of red plasma and burning energy bolts. The darkness lit up like a violent sunrise. And then the humans answered. A wall of blue shield barriers appeared in front of the human fleet, absorbing most of the incoming fire. Human weapons fired back with precision, Ravens disabling engines while frigates hit weapon cores. The artillery ships unleashed long-range kinetic bursts that punched holes through enemy hulls. The first clash of the silent war had begun. In the middle of the battle, Captain Ward saw an opening. Target Kravik's flagship, he ordered, prepare disabling strike. His officers moved fast, calculations flowing across the holograms. Then, a deep pulse of blue energy shot forward, hitting Kravik's flagship right at its power core. The ship shook violently, lights exploding, alarms blaring. The crew screamed as systems shut down one by one. Kravik collapsed against the wall. Impossible, he gasped, humans cannot do this. But they already had. His flagship drifted helplessly, powerless and silent. Ward watched from the Raven Bridge, enemy flagship disabled. He reported, the warlords cannot command their fleet anymore. Reyna's voice came through, steady and proud, then we win this battle, she said, and Arden 4 survives. But Ward's face remained serious. Colonel, he said, this is only the beginning. Because deep in the silent rift, far beyond their scanners, more warlord factions were waking up, sensing weakness, sensing opportunity. And sensing humanity. The silent war had begun with one clash, but the galaxy had no idea how far it would go. Inside the Galactic Council tower, tension filled every corner like thick smoke. Delegates rushed through crystal hallways, guards sprinted to their stations, and alarms echoed through the highest chambers. Something terrible had reached them, something they never imagined they would see. A trembling advisor ran into the council chamber. Supreme Speaker, he cried, we received emergency broadcasts from the silent rift. The speaker, who had already been shaken by humanity's walkout, turned sharply. What now? It demanded. The advisor swallowed hard. The warlords attacked a human colony, he said, Arden 4. The room exploded in gasps and fearful whispers. What do you mean attacked? A delegate shouted, why would they attack humans? Another delegate hissed, because we distracted humanity with useless peace threats. The advisor raised a trembling hand. It gets worse, he said, the humans fought back. What? The speaker asked, confused. Humans defended themselves. The advisor shook his head rapidly. No, Speaker, he said, they annihilated the warlord fleet. The chamber fell silent, completely silent. One delegate whispered, impossible. Another whispered, unthinkable. The advisor activated a hologram in the center of the room. A huge battlefield appeared above the table, showing disabled warlord ships drifting lifelessly, debris floating around them, and 2 human Raven-class cruisers at the center of the map, cold and deadly like predators waiting for their next hunt. The speaker stared in shock. They destroyed Kravik's fleet. The advisor nodded, without losing a single ship. Fear spread across the chamber like a virus. Delegates looked at one another with trembling eyes. We underestimated them, one whispered. They defeated an entire warlord armada with only a fraction of their strength, another said. They do not need the council, said a third, voice shaking, they never did. But fear soon turned into something else, regret, heavy regret. An elder member stood up slowly. Speaker, she said softly, we pushed them too far, we tried to control a species that refuses to be controlled. The speaker clenched its hands. We must contact the humans, it said, we must fix this before more chaos spreads. But the room erupted again. How will we contact them? A delegate shouted. They walked out of the peace chamber, they will ignore us. They may even see us as enemies now, another said, trembling, and if humans decide we are a threat. He could not finish the sentence. Across the galaxy, humanity's victory sent shockwaves. Some species cheered silently, others locked their doors, and some even began preparing emergency escape routes from their planets. No one knew what humanity would do next. But the Council feared something much deeper. If humans were this strong, this prepared, this united, then humanity could reshape the entire galaxy. While the Council panicked, humanity remained focused, calm, and controlled. For them, this was not conquest, it was protection, it was survival. Meanwhile, in the deep chambers of the Council Tower, an emergency meeting began. Every high-ranking member gathered around a large, glowing table. We need to understand humanity, Elder Terran said. We have assumed too much, judged too quickly, and acted without respect. The speaker paced back and forth, frustration shaking its 6 eyes, and now they have defeated a threat we ignored for decades, it said. They did our job for us. The words echoed through the chamber like thunder. Another elder asked quietly, what if they decide the council is unfit to lead the galaxy? Silence followed. Everyone knew the answer, but none dared to say it. One small, nervous delegate finally whispered, humanity does not seek power, they only seek respect. And we gave them insults instead, Elder Terran added. The speaker stopped pacing. Then we must correct our mistake, it said, before their patience ends. But before any plan could be formed, another advisor ran in, panic in his voice. Speaker, he cried, there is another problem. The speaker frowned. What now? The advisor displayed a new hologram, another group of warlord fleets rising from the silent rift, bigger and more dangerous than Kravik's. The chamber shook with fear. Impossible, a delegate whispered, Kravik was only one warlord. There are more, Elder Terran said, many more. And they have seen humanity's victory. The speaker's voice lowered, filled with dread. They will not attack us, it said, they will go after humanity. And if humanity strikes back again, another delegate added, the whole galaxy will burn. The speaker collapsed into its seat, the weight of the situation crushing its pride. This is the unthinkable, it whispered, a war between humanity and the Rift warlords could destroy everything. Elder Terran leaned forward, her voice steady and grim. Then the council must decide, she said, will we stand with humanity, or be swept away by the storm they will unleash? The question hung in the air, heavy and terrifying. Because one truth was clear now, clearer than ever. Humanity had walked out, humanity had fought back, and humanity had won. And the galaxy was beginning to understand the real danger. Not human anger, not human weapons, not human ships. But human resolve. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, inside the United Earth Command Center, the atmosphere was silent but incredibly tense. Holographic screens filled the war room, showing maps of star systems, fleet movements, and growing threats from the silent rift. Every officer stood ready, waiting for Commander Eric Vaughn to speak. Eric stepped forward, his face calm but firm, the lights above reflected off his dark uniform, shadows outlining his sharp features. He looked like a man preparing not for war, but for history. Humanity has been pushed, threatened, and tested, Eric said, his voice echoing across the metal chamber, but now the galaxy will know something new. He paused for a moment, letting the silence build. We do not run, he said, we do not kneel, we do not break. General Mara Hale nodded, stepping beside him, her voice was steady and strong. The warlords have awakened, she said, more powerful than Kravik, more united, more dangerous. Eric turned to the massive hologram of the galaxy. A red zone began expanding outward from the silent rift, signaling the rising threat. We cannot fight them alone, the intelligence officer said quietly, not if the entire rift unites. Eric didn't look away. Then the galaxy must decide, he said, his voice sharpening, are they with us, or against us? His words carried a weight that could reshape civilizations. The communications officer approached. Sir, she said, if we send a message, it will reach every major world, including the Council. Eric nodded. Prepare the broadcast. Within minutes, humanity's message was ready to be sent across thousands of star systems. The entire galaxy would hear it, no matter their position, their politics, or their fears. The recording room opened. Eric stepped inside, a single bright light shining over him. He looked straight into the lens, calm and unshaken. This is Commander Eric Vaughn of Earth, he said, to every species of the galaxy, listen carefully. He took a breath, and the words that followed became an ultimatum, a warning, and a promise all at once. Humanity walked out of the peace talks because the Council decided fear was stronger than respect, he said. They were wrong. He leaned slightly forward, voice deep and cold. We have defeated Kravik's fleet, we have protected our colony, and we are ready to protect the entire galaxy. Mara Hale stepped into the frame beside him. But we will not beg for cooperation, she said, we will not kneel for peace. Eric continued, if you stand with humanity, we stand with you. He paused, then delivered the final line, one that shook the galaxy when it was transmitted. But if you stand with the warlords, you will fall with them. The broadcast ended, and within seconds, the message shot across space, passing through colonies, trading hubs, militaries, and even the darkest corners of the Council Tower. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, delegates stared at the human message in complete silence. One whispered, they are warning the entire galaxy. Another whispered, no, they are giving the galaxy a choice. The speaker trembled, its voice thin, they are offering protection, and delivering a threat. Elder Terran stepped forward, a justified threat, she said. They defeated a warlord armada with almost no losses, they protect their colonies without asking for help. A delegate shouted with fear, what if they turn against us? Another snapped back, what if the warlords destroy us instead? The chamber filled with chaos, voices rising in fear and frustration. Some argued that humanity should be supported, others shouted that humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too powerful. Elder Terran raised her voice, silence, she commanded. When the room finally quieted, she spoke with a calm heaviness. There is no future where we ignore humanity, she said, and no future where we face the rift alone. The speaker lowered its head, then, we must answer their message. While the Council panicked, humanity was already mobilizing. On the surface of Earth, hangars opened like giant metal wings, revealing massive warships lined in perfect symmetry, engines hummed, lights glowed, and soldiers marched in formation. The Infinity Fleet, Earth's largest battle group, was preparing for deployment. Commander Eric stood before the massive flagship Eclipse, its dark hull shining like a shard of the night sky. The ship was enormous, capable of holding thousands of crew members and carrying weapons no alien species had ever seen used in battle. Mara Hale walked beside him, her hands folded behind her back. The Council will respond soon, she said, but the warlords will respond faster. Eric nodded, we must be ready for both. He looked up at the Eclipse, knowing the next chapter of humanity's destiny was carved into its steel. A young officer approached. Sir, he said, message incoming from an unknown source. Eric raised an eyebrow, unknown. Yes, sir, the officer said, but the signal structure looks alien. Mara exchanged a glance with him. Put it through, she said. The hologram flickered to life, revealing a nervous alien wearing simple ambassador robes. I am speaking for my people, he said, voice shaking, and we have made our decision. Eric nodded slowly, and what is that, he asked. The ambassador swallowed hard, then said words that would shock the galaxy. We choose humanity. Across the galaxy, one by one, other worlds would soon answer the same way. Because the galaxy finally understood. This was not humanity rising. This was humanity awakening. And the warlords had no idea what storm was coming for them. The galaxy had gone silent, silent in a way that felt unnatural and heavy. Worlds that had been noisy with trade, conflict, and political games were suddenly holding their breath, waiting for what humanity would do next. The council waited, the warlords waited, and even the smallest colonies on the edge of the stars waited. Because everyone understood one truth now. Humanity was not just another species. Humanity was a storm. Inside the massive hangar of the Eclipse, Commander Eric Vaughn walked across the metal floor, soldiers saluting as he passed. The engines of the flagship hummed like a giant beast waking from sleep. Blue energy flowed through the support beams, and armored troops marched into position with perfect formation. General Mara Hale stood beside him, her voice steady. The Infinity Fleet is at full readiness, she said, 1,000 warships, 500 escort vessels, and every Raven cruiser we have. Eric nodded slowly. And the rift, he asked. The intelligence officer stepped forward, displaying a hologram of the silent rift. Huge clusters of red blips swarmed around the map, warlord ships gathering, preparing, uniting. They are forming the largest attack force ever recorded, the officer said. They want revenge for Kravik's defeat. Mara exhaled sharply. Then they are making the same mistake the council made. Eric's eyes narrowed. They think fear will stop us, he said. They are wrong. Across the galaxy, the council chamber was filled with noise and confusion. Delegates argued, shouted, begged for calm. We must stop the humans, one said, before they attack the rift. Another snapped, why should we stop them? The warlords will destroy us if humanity doesn't act. Elder Terran raised her voice. Order, she commanded, we need clarity. The speaker trembled. Humanity has sent their ultimatum. We must respond. A younger delegate whispered, if we choose against humanity, the rift will crush us. Another whispered, if we choose with humanity, we give them power. The chamber was torn, but the fear of the warlords was stronger. The council finally agreed to send a message. A message of surrender. A message of cooperation. A message saying they accepted humanity's leadership in the coming war. But humanity was already moving, and they would not wait for permission. In deep space, the Infinity Fleet formed a perfect wall of steel and light. The Eclipse stood at the center, glowing with blue energy, its engines burning like small suns. Behind it, Raven-class cruisers flickered like silent shadows, while artillery ships charged their massive cannons. Eric stepped onto the bridge, the crew rising as he entered. Large holographic screens showed the Rift Armada, a storm of jagged ships and burning engines, thousands of them, ready to unleash chaos. Open a channel, Eric said. The comm officer activated the transmission, and Eric spoke with a voice that echoed through every human ship. Today, we do not fight for territory, he said, we do not fight for power. He lifted his head, eyes hard and steady. We fight for every world threatened by the rift, we fight for every colony, every family, every child across the stars. Mara stepped beside him, her voice strong. We fight because the galaxy needs someone who does not fear the darkness. Eric raised his hand. Infinity Fleet, he said, advance. The human armada surged forward, engines igniting, shields rising, weapons glowing bright blue. Across the battlefield, the warlord ships roared forward to meet them, firing red plasma and dark energy blasts. The galaxy shook as two tides of power collided. Blue light clashed with red fire. Human shields absorbed the first storm. Raven cruisers cut through the darkness like knives. Artillery ships unleashed kinetic bursts that tore enemy ships apart. Human fighters swarmed like shooting stars, weaving through enemy formations. The warlords were savages, violent, brutal, but they had never faced a force like this, a united, disciplined human fleet. On the bridge of the Eclipse, Eric watched the battle unfold. Target their command clusters, he ordered, do not let them regroup. Mara pointed at a massive flagship at the center of the Rift Armada. There, she said, their main leader. Eric nodded. Fire the Aurora Lance. A bright blue beam erupted from the eclipse, slicing through space like a spear of pure energy. It cut straight into the enemy flagship, tearing through its shields, its armor, and its core. The ship exploded in a silent burst of blue and red light, and the entire Rift fleet shook. On the enemy ships, panic spread, commanders shouting, engines failing, formations collapsing. The warlord armada began to break, their courage shattered. Eric watched the hologram as red blips started disappearing one by one. Push forward, he commanded, do not give them time to recover. The human fleet surged, overwhelming the remaining warlord ships, disabling some, destroying others, forcing the rest to flee deeper into the darkness. Within an hour, it was over. The largest warlord armada in galactic history had been defeated, completely broken. Without mercy, without hesitation, and without fear. Humanity had unleashed the storm, and the galaxy had witnessed the result. Later, inside the council chamber, the speaker stood in stunned silence as the report arrived. The warlord armada has been destroyed, the messenger said, by the humans. The speaker collapsed back into its seat, disbelief on its face. They saved us, it whispered, they saved everyone. Elder Terran nodded softly, the galaxy owes humanity a debt it can never repay. Back on the bridge of the eclipse, Eric looked out at the fading battlefield, debris floating like silent ghosts. Mara stood beside him. It's done, she said. Eric nodded slowly. This war is over, he said, but the galaxy has changed forever. Because now every world, every empire, every council member finally understood something powerful. Humanity did not seek to rule. Humanity did not seek to destroy. Humanity sought only one thing. Respect. And after this day, no one would ever deny it again. Humanity walked out of the peace table as equals. But returned to the battlefield as legends. And legends never fade.